degree to which Donald Trump is an unabashed liar is just the word I was going to say, how he unabashedly misrepresents what's going on. But I don't just mean it as a simple pejorative. He's a liar. He's a this. He's a that. He's a misogynist. You can certainly go off on that jag. But what I think David's written about, and I think what you're seeing, is the degree to which the American people, on some level, and I mean a large number of American people, want to be lied to. Tell me about how we're the greatest country on earth. You always hear that. Tell me about how you're the best thing for the economy. Tell me about how you're going to make America great again or get us back to whatever, because that's the lie that I want to believe. The reality is, as you are well aware, that not for everybody, and certainly not in every place, but in many instances and in many places, the economy is robust. We are going through the kind of technological purging, which is scary. And by that, I mean more and more jobs are being lost to technology. So AI, automation, you could see this coming 30 years ago. Literally, we were talking about it that long ago. Back then, it was the way robots would replace workers in every industrial facility one could imagine. You know, from steel workers to auto workers, you could see how robotics was going to replace so many. And if you look at seaports, you look at major commercial hubs around seaports, and you see nothing but automation. People are doing different things, and there are fewer people involved in the process. So there's no question that the economy and the environment has changed and is changing, and it's changing in scary ways. But Donald Trump isn't your answer, and it has nothing to do particularly with a flawed economic policy. As I say, if you look at other indices, the stock market, employment rates, et cetera, this economy's pumping. And it's pumping more than any other economy in the developed world. And still, Donald Trump can talk about worst inflation in history, never been an economy so bad. I mean, worst economy in history, you don't even have to go back. When you talk about interest rates, I'm betting that most of the people in our chat remember interest rates that were multiples of this. I mean, 5 times what we're seeing as an interest rate now. During the Carter administration, I don't even know what the interest rates were, but they were massive.
Google it.
18% or something on that level. So my point is simply, these are, again, bald-faced lies. They work on the stump. He gets going, and then he's just serving up these complete misrepresentations. I hate to say lie. Lie sounds like it's like I'm calling him a name. You know, I hate the name-calling thing, but these really are lies that he serves up like a short-order chef when he's out there on the stump, and still the Americans absolutely want to believe it in large. There it is. By the end of Carter's presidency in 1981, home mortgage rates averaged 16.64%. Home mortgage rates have not been this high since the Carter administration. It was an extraordinary thing. When you get a politician like Donald Trump who says, you know we're the best, and you know we had the best, and we're going to go back and get the best if you vote me in. We're going to make us the best again. But these guys have ruined the best. We had the best, but their 4 years of presidency, while they're presidenting for 4 years, it was all bad. And he creates this idea somehow that the economy's bad, that stuff is bad, the border's bad, etc. And some of it may land with you. You may go, yeah, well, the border is bad. We have to figure out a better policy. And as you know, Trump kneecapped the deal that would have changed the border. But on the economy, you can look at things and go, well, but look at the price of things at the grocery store. Even though those things likely don't have a connection to the current administration from the standpoint of any policy, you could still say, hey, that statement lands with me. But more than anything, The thing that Trump has done, and he's done it effectively, and this is the point that you'll see in a moment. He has effectively said that if you elect those guys, Kamala Harris and her people, for another 4 years, the economy is going to go straight down, dropping like a stone. Everything's going to be awful. There's an apocalyptic economic notion that's being peddled by Donald Trump. I think it's laughable. Look at how quickly we came out of the pandemic. Look at how the economy was resuscitated under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, if you want to link the two, as they always are now. Look at all the progress made. And look at where the economy is now. Look at the stock market at all-time highs. Look at your 401ks, etc. All right. So it flies in the face of evidence, but somehow peddling the fear is working. And Tony, you have a little bit, not only on that, but on the fact that Trump's basic tactic of just playing to generic fear is an effective one. And he's associated positively with somehow staving off all the bad stuff that he invents is going to happen in a Harris administration. Go ahead, Tony, run a little bit of that. This is short.
Forgive me, I just want to stretch this out. The economy is the number one issue in all three states, not by huge margins, but 26%, 28%, 25%, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina. Immigration second in Arizona, abortion third. Immigration and abortion kind of trade almost in a tie for second and third when it comes to the other battleground states. So the issues, economy and immigration, we know they're Trump's issues, and abortion is a Harris issue. So voters were asked in this poll, what candidate best represents you on your issue? So it could be the economy for many voters. It might be something else, just generically. Who's the candidate you trust on your top issue? And look at this. Again, I'm just going to stretch this out. On just the generic top issue question, it's narrow, but Trump leads in all three states, right? So people are saying, I'm with him. He's best for me on my top issue. Here's what's even more damning.
Now, we know right issue there. I just want to be clear as to what this is. You can back it up a little bit so we don't miss, but I want to be clear about what that was. It's a generic top issue. It's not, they don't give you the issue. They say your top issue, whatever it is. Pick a card, any card. Mm-hmm. Who's better on it? And in a generic top issue, for some people it might be women's reproductive freedoms. For some people it might be security. For some people it might be the border. Trump scores above Harris. It's an extraordinary idea. And it's an extraordinary poll result. Okay, Tony, back to it. Sorry.
What's even more damning, Aaron, we know issue number one is the economy. And just look at this. And we've seen this again. This is only one poll. Don't overinvest in any one poll, but we have seen this data in other polls. This is a constant problem for the vice president. Who's best on the economy? Trump by 14 points leads in Arizona. Trump by 12 points leads in Georgia. Trump by 13 points leads in North Carolina. It's the top issue, and Trump has a huge edge. That's the problem for the vice president.
And I would say to you that when you look at Pennsylvania, which is a state that is critical, as you know, you don't need me to tell you, every other pundit is telling you, every other political strategist is telling you, if Kamala Harris can win Pennsylvania, she really has a shot at the White House. Without Pennsylvania, very hard to get there. So both candidates are aware. This is why Trump is spending every single instant, essentially, in Pennsylvania relative to his other stops. And it's why Kamala Harris, as well, is focused on Pennsylvania. So yesterday, Trump spoke at an event in Pennsylvania that talked about the predatory power of China. And he showed, essentially, in his populist economic arguments, like, it's us versus China, and he's got a zero-sum view of that, or at least that's what he peddles, that he predicted mass bankruptcies in that agricultural sector and said that essentially the rural communities, and this is, remember, he's now in rural Pennsylvania, will take a huge hit if he's not president. You'll have those bankruptcies, you'll have an invasion of immigrants, and it will take down all of you I mean, he literally said, all of you farmers will lose your farms. There'll be mass bankruptcies. It was extraordinary, Kim. I mean, he was painting this apocalyptic picture.
Well, it turns out it doesn't matter what your occupation is, whether you're a farmer, whether you're in business, whatever audience he's sitting in front of, he'll tell you you're going to lose your job, your industry will collapse, this will be it. So I guess it's just this widespread message then.
Most politicians, as noted here, court voters by offering them an optimistic vision, peddling hope and promises of change. Democratic nominee Kamala Harris seeking to sweep away Trump's somber picture of America, they note here. An America in crisis. She talks about joy and a new kind of, quote, opportunity economy. Trump, though, mostly dishes out fear and threats. He, for instance, warned Americans at the debate with Harris that, quote, you're going to end up in World War III. In the town hall that he did on Fox News, he said, quote, this country will end up in a depression if Kamala Harris becomes president, like 1929. He brands Harris a communist, calls her a comrade. And then he also seems to try to scapegoat he scapegoats any number of communities if he loses, right? The Democrats. But then he tried to scapegoat Jewish people, which was an extraordinary thing. He said the Jewish people would be partly to blame if he loses in November. This is what he's trying to say. I mean, this is so heinous, only because of the history of persecution of the Jews. But he is trying to say, if you're Jewish, you should vote for me because I'm on your side. I'm on Israel's side. I'm the best friend to the Jews. I'm the best friend to Israel. But if you don't vote for me, then you're one of the reasons I didn't win. And it's also a reflection of, this is the trope, this is the despicable, bigoted notion that Jewish people have a split loyalty, right? The loyalty is to Israel and the loyalty is to America. And if you make them choose, they may choose Israel over America. It's BS. But that's the crap that he is slinging out there. Most important, I would say, is, though, the fear. Playing fear with the economy, with lifestyle, with America, and then, as I say, with that idealized, romanticized notion of your America, it seems to be working. And that's why that poll was so key. Your generic issue, who's better? You name the issue in your mind. Who's better, Trump or Harris? And by a distinct margin, at least in that poll, it was Trump. So, on some level, the fear card is working for him.
I was going to say, speaking of the fear card, what do you think you respond better to? A message of hope or a message of fear?
Oh, that's a great question. Honestly, I don't mean to say that I don't respond. I mean, I like to look at the substantive issue, and if it's like, I'll give you if it's grim, it's grim. Like, I'm a tree hugger, right? So I respond to tree hugger issues. So if you tell me we have to stop this now, otherwise you're going to see a toxification of the soil, even in organic farms. By the way, I have that story. We'll run it this week. It's extraordinary. There's so much toxic stuff in the environment that even organic soil is polluted with a lot of these awful toxins that show up in the environment. So maybe that fear of that does motivate me. I mean, fear is a great motivator. So if I had to choose one or the other, hope or fear, I'm guessing fear probably would work on me too. But you couldn't just sling some fear crap at me and think you could get away with me personally. I mean, I'd need to see some evidence,
Right.
And I think in the case of Trump, he's just slinging it. There is no evidence. But he's got the crowd and he's got the amen corner, and that all works for him.
Sure.
And, there's one last thing I would say about this fear thing. There's a reason anthropologically that we respond to fear more than we do to hope in general. We are wired to respond to fear more. That's a survival instinct. If you talk to poker players, they can remember, poker players can, the hands, huge poker hands, in which they were losers. They missed some sign that they were supposed to have. They lost all their money on one particular hand or a series of hands and series of moments they can remember with incredible clarity. Same poker players, you ask them about beating somebody in hands like that, and they don't have the recollection. I can speak to this with great authority because I'm one of them. You remember the hands you lose more than the hands you win. And the reason for that is your survival depends on avoiding things that can hurt you. And so fear is such an effective tool in gaining popularity and gaining support. Keep me away from that which can hurt me. And Trump is doing it in spades right now. And if you'll pardon the mixture of metaphors, and it looks like, at least for the moment, in swing state polling and in general polling, that fear-mongering is working.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell, you'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.